Hi everyone. Today is September 3rd, new month. We'll look at the monthly closing, weekly as well, but we'll start with daily, one day. Today I woke up late, so I didn't see what Bitcoin was doing. So just now I'm actually looking at it overnight. What happened? I didn't check. So there's red candle. Let me see on 12 hours. Okay. It's like eventful, like we had Fed announcement on their stand. That was the concise speech from Powell, Chairman Powell, Fed chair. And I think that was the most important event. And because that has gave direction and clarity to the stock market and of course other in general capital market. Now I would consider Bitcoin as part of that family as well, because as we know, it's no more isolated. Simple reason being the investors are from that world, so we cannot say the same. In fact, that this change happened the day Bitcoin was listed on CME, um, the futures exchange. Right? So since then, we can say that the Wall Street money started getting into. And of course, after that, there were many institutes started with Bitcoin. So it was like it entered into, I won't say Wall Street firm, in general global capital market. Since US dominates the direction, we can say Wall Street, just for convenience. So otherwise, yeah. So that's why the Fed's decision matters a lot. And I'm starting with, we will definitely get into TA, but since that was the major driving force, I thought maybe I'll share my thoughts on that to start with. Uh, so one thing is, so that's the only fundamental matters to me. As far as my analysis is concerned, I'm not considering any other fundamentals. So TA plus decision by by the Fed. It's a combination of these two matter. Now the next meeting is coming up this month, and then inflation number is also coming up. Last month's inflation was little down, but Fed doesn't decide based on 1 month of data. They will see at least 3-4 months of data as far as different economist views are concerned. And so it makes sense also. Nobody can just conclude. So I think the Fed is going to go ahead with 75 basis point. That is the consensus in the market. That means 7.75% hike. And that's why stock market reacted, and that's why Bitcoin also reacted from fundamental point of view. And it makes sense also. Now, having said that, it is following fundamentals, only one fundamental, as I said, which matters. But at the same time, it is following technical, and that's the beauty. Now, we saw what happened earlier, that how 219115 helped. So even though it's following Fed's decision, it is also following technical, which is amazing. And that's why we get even more confident in our TA stuff, because it is it is a guide for us. It provides key levels using which we can plan. It's not that we know the future, nobody knows the future, but if we know the key levels, then we can try to predict the future, at least estimate and plan what to do on what level, right? And that is good enough. That is as good as knowing the future. So what we do is probabilistic analysis, and it has been working well. Now, making money is a different ball game, as you know, and I covered that aspect many different times It also requires some amount of time. It also requires some strategy. It requires some mindset, very specific mindset, stable mindset, um, without any emotion or that kind of a thing. So I won't cover unless there is question, but the point is, we have to put together in order to make money, not just technical levels. Um, but anyway, let's start with TA now. So there are two events coming up just to complete the earlier point. The the August month inflation number is coming, and then of course the Fed's decision. But usually, in price in those kind of events, so they're always ahead in the game. So I think now it went down means market is expecting to Fed to go with 75 basis point rate hike. So when they hike, there won't be any major change because it would be priced in. So, come next month or down the line, if they continue with higher rates, then only market will go down. So this is something interesting. It looks like then whatever happened. Um, but I think again, then next checkpoint will be October. I forgot whether it's the meeting is in October or November. I had to check. But whenever is the next meeting, that will be another checkpoint from a fundamental point of view. Okay, so let's get back to our TA stuff. Now, this is 12 hours, so we'll get to know some inner structure of the pattern. Going a step back, this was the wall. We know we tracked it. There were multiple attempts, as we know. Failed to break above, right? And then drop. Drop, but supported here on this July 26th low, and then consolidated here. It tried to break above, but then I provided you this one, 21915 resistance, and it followed. Then it failed, but then it stayed above this 19,000 support, right? And it consolidating at this moment, right, for last few days. This cluster is similar to this cluster. A leg down, consolidation, a leg down, consolidation. Okay, so this point is where if you go back 3 weeks ago, 3 weeks in past, then I mentioned about a double bottom scenario, right? This is where we stand at this moment. And as I mentioned in that call, that it can happen around 19K, or worst case, it could happen actually around 17K, because there's no rule about it, right? And the best, it's about the strength. If the strength is high, then it can happen higher. And it can happen on the same level, or in a worst case, it could happen little lower. What happened? I'll tell you. Most of the stop losses would be here. Most of the, like, protection point of view, because this is the ultimate low, right? This is the major low. These lows that we referred are internal to this structure, right? You know that by now, that there are structures at different levels. So when we talk about supports, these supports are related to this particular structure that I'm highlighting, which like started from mid-June all the way until today. So this is a structure, and then there are supports, this support, and then this support, right? And of course, these are prior ones, and these are point of rejection. So everything is about this structure. And then you put this as single unit, then you get a boundary. And you may say that then, so you put together as a one unit like this. Okay. And in that case, so this is your upper boundary, and then this is your lower boundary. And then whatever is happening inside is kind of noise. Or you may say, you don't want to use this term noise, you may say consolidation. right? Range bound consolidation. So this is like a child patterns, like where consolidation happens in this range. This is a parent one, where consolidation is happening at a larger scale, longer time frame, right? It's a recurring pattern within a pattern, and this is how it works. So if you're trading at this, then these levels matter. If you are someone who is for longer term, like weekly time frame kind of, then you will be tracking at these ranges. So double bottom with respect to this low could happen somewhere here, or it could happen here, because there is no rule about it. As I said, it's all about strength. Now, most of the stop loss, in my opinion, or protective stops would be somewhere here, right? Not necessarily here. So even if this goes down, um, the I don't believe that sometime market, but you never know this. Some bots may be looking for, they might sell off their position, push the price down, and push the price up to this level where there is a huge there would be huge liquidity, and they'll end up buying those cheap at a cheaper rate, because they would keep on selling from here on, let's say, and then buy at this zone. It is possible, but I mean, it's speculation. I mean, we don't know, but it's in scenario point of view, it is a possibility, because here is where you will find most of the liquidity, um, right? And usually bounce happens with a bigger candle wick like this one at a larger time. It cannot just lift up from statistically. If you statistically, you won't see that much. You need to have a quick drop and a quick bounce for it to make a major bounce at a higher. Lower level bounce are fine, but this kind of capitulation is needed for a major move on the upside, in my opinion. It's not a rule again, it's observation. If you look at the history, some and this is and capitulation has no rule. It has to be a steep drop, quick drop, and a quick bounce. That's how usually it behaves. So this is also capitulation, and then there can be retest of this. The capitulation in the month of March 2020 was the ultimate one. I think that is an exceptional. It doesn't happen so often. Um, in fact, it doesn't happen these days. It was rare event. It was kind of a forced drop, or forced breakdown sort of sense. Not something probably in a in a plan, but some because of unforeseen situation. Anyway, so um we have to be prepared. What I was saying, that it could touch this range and then go up. So there can be a quick drop touching this one and go up, or come down all the way, or little lower. So if it goes little lower, don't worry. Remember that look for the daily close. So I'll go, daily close has to be below this for you to say this is broken. So just to remind that you cannot say this level is broken unless daily level close is below that. That's the usual accepted, I mean, universal acceptable term. Daily close matters in this case. So daily close, weekly close. In crypto, sometimes I say 12-hour close is okay, because it's 24/7. That's my own stuff, because it's 24/7. So I would say even 12 hours is very important. So if 12 hours closes below certain level, then we can say that level is broken. And similarly, if 12 hours closes above certain level, then we can say that resistance is broken. Again, there's no standard definition. It's my own definition, that I would look for confirmation on 12 hours. That will tell me. So for example, all this you see are just spikes. They didn't break. Similarly, if it comes down and spike, we have to wait for 12 hours. In fact, that is one of the reasons I'm running arrow feature on 12 hours, because sometime I see that it breaks out and I can see that it's going to send up or down signal, but then indicator will wait for 12 hours and then give a confirmation. Yeah, in worst case scenario, what might happen, there can be false breakout and you have to wait for 12 hours. But that's the, sometime you have to face that scenario. It happened with SNX, one example. It sent a up signal, and I saw that it failed right after it sent out a signal and it started going down. But the indicator has to wait for 12 hours, and in the meanwhile, it sometimes it goes down. And yeah, but we have to, because in a majority of the case, the waiting makes more sense, but there can be some exception where it can fool us, you know. But anyway, so 12 hours is my own standard, which is good enough. So I would not say 1 day. Yeah, if coin is pumping, I'm digressing a bit, sorry, but just to complete my thought on definition of closing, because I always add some new stuff when I cover the weekly. So this is something coming up. So I will just complete my thought. So usually for Bitcoin, daily is good. For alts, I would say 12 hours is good. Why? Because alts are faster. And if among those alts, if some coins are, pumping coin, like 20-30% kind of a coin or higher, then I would say you can go lower. Now there, I don't have any definition. It is proportional to the percentage move they make. Some coin are very, very like LUNC. If you look at, even 12 hours is too big. So you have to say, okay, 4 hours is good, which there's no definition of it. It is something you have to derive from the experience. But just an example like that. So if coin is fast moving, then you have to have that lower time frame for confirmation. So if you have a level and if a fast moving, and let's say 4 hour is your confirmation time, then you have to wait for 4 hours. But if it is really pumping like 50% or higher, then you can say, oh, 1 hour is good enough, or maybe 30 minutes is good enough. And like if it are pumping 100%, then probably 15 minutes is good enough, something like that. So I'm just sharing my practice, some of the practices on this topic, that what closing is important. Yeah, if you are, what is the exception? If you're offline, let's say asleep or offline for some reason, then you can have a hard stop on a certain price level, because you don't know how deep it could go. If you are going to be offline for several hours, right, then there is no choice. What I said is more important is when you're online. If it is on daily on Bitcoin, then that's not a problem, because end of day matters. 12 hours is also not a big deal, because it's twice in a day. You can easily track. Of course, the time zone matters. Sometimes the time zone could be odd, so it's a little tricky. But anything lower than 12 hours, that is applied only if you're online. So sometime what I do is, if I'm taking any fast moving coin and if I had to go, I would I would close the trade sometimes if I'm in profit, because if I put a stop loss, yeah, nothing wrong. If I'm, but if my profit is little and I recently bought, and if I'm going to go offline, I would just close it and then go offline. If I'm in a good profit, then I will put a stop loss. Then, because it makes sense for me to wait for that hours being offline. So these are few practices that I follow. But if my trade is new and if I don't have profit on it, I would just close it and then have a fresh look next day. Because there's another reason I do, um, because there could be slippage, and I have seen that, especially if the volume is low and your size is good, big, even the stop loss is not properly hit, or you may have slippage, or it may just not work. Especially on Coinbase, it's pathetic because there's no market stop. It's a limit stop. So it's very bad. Anyway, so let me come back. Okay, there are very few. So these are few things important to know. As I mentioned, levels are important, but then there are so many other best practices that you have to follow. The one that I mentioned, if I say this is the support, somebody will be just like a bot, say it touched. Oh, I sold it. Why? It touched. No, it's not about touch. It's about closing. So that's why one has to understand the game, not just blindly follow the levels, but understand that how price action, how is the price action near that level. So these levels are not like exact dollar number where you can say this is what going to happen on this is these are probabilistically um, derived level where you expect some reaction. So you one cannot just assume, as I said, but the aspect of closing is very important. So the closing is, if you understand closing, then it's good. So you have to watch what happens here and then decide. So that's important. You see this behavior, this kind of spikes, you see behavior spikes. Anyways, so I think this is very important aspect. Right. So now coming back to the scenarios, we can go on weekly. And so this is clear, I believe. Uh, yeah, Bitstamp. So we can go to the weekly. Mm, okay, this line is actually coming from this the major trend line, remember, coming from this low, April 2013. So this is 9 years worth of data. So if you look at this single line is so critical, right? It starts from here, it protects here, protects here. So this is the double bottom at an angle. This is double bottom. So this is a retest, right? It doesn't go all the way, but it followed this line. So this is, let me zoom in. Okay. So this is low, then consolidation, and then retest. You see, closing is important. Remember, closing, not spike. And then a uptrend. Comes down, then it comes down. This is COVID fall, stays above, nice. And then this is recent uptrend, which is smaller than this prior cycle. This was huge, and this is half of it, probably very small comparatively. And then this is a bear trend with respect to this trend. So with this is noise. So this is the uptrend starting from here up to this. This is double top, yeah, and then this is a downtrend. Downtrend is also, as I said, so earlier on one day, I explained that this supports within this is for this structure I'm highlighting. Then you zoom out, and then this downtrend is with respect to this uptrend. It's always relative. It's in always relative. So this downtrend is with respect to this. But then I'm talking about uptrend, which is the whole entire wave. Whole entire wave is in uptrend, by the way. Okay, and this because you will see that if you look at quarterly. If you look at quarterly, it's in uptrend. You see, this is quarterly. This is up first leg, then a minor correction. This is minor, right? Because it is with respect to the uptrend. Remember. Then this is another leg up. This is also a minor correction. And then this is another leg up, which is shorter. And then this is a down. So if you look at the whole entire wave, like starting from 2011 here, so 11 years of data here, this is uptrend. So in my definition, on a quarterly, there's no bear trend yet. Okay, yet. So it is always having the bull trend, and it is true because It doesn't have to 2009, I mean 10 data, because it was not listed. It was more internal. Satoshi and other friends were. So that's why there is no price. So, but you know that it's between zero to $2. So you know that. So there's not much before that. So it's here somewhere here, we can assume. So that basically from here all the way here, it has been going up. And that is also because the financial crisis happened in year 2007-8. And since 2009, the bull run began in stock market. You know that. And not just Bitcoin, but S&P or any other index that globally went up. So there is nothing new when or nothing surprising. And Bitcoin, the only difference is the Bitcoin gained more because it's a new asset class, and so wise, it has more percentage gain than the stock index, right? Otherwise, there is no fundamental difference as far as its life cycle is concerned. Um, of course, in this ups and downs have differences, but since 2017-18, it's the same. Why? Because as the reason I mentioned, because the same Wall Street guys or financial market investors came into Bitcoin. That's why. So now it is aligned. Before that, it was not aligned because they were not there. So sometimes I always tell that better they were not in Bitcoin, because then Bitcoin was independent. Because I mean they cherished and enjoyed that they came, but I said it would be good only if only Bitcoin is driven by retailers, not those institutions. Very different view than most of the people believe. They celebrate when Goldman comes, BlackRock comes, Fidelity comes, and I say my view is they are not required. Because they move a market in a way we cannot handle, in my opinion. But that's a different point of view. I mean, there's no different flavor. What I mean is the volatility has gone down, but point is then taking Bitcoin, there is no advantage on Bitcoin because it will behave like any tech stock. When the Bitcoin has to do something different than the stock market, then there's advantage. So we can buy Bitcoin more when the stocks are down. If the Bitcoin is down, we can buy more stocks. So, you have different asset class in a true sense, which behaves differently. But now these days, it's not behaving differently. So from that point of view, I'm saying that they were not needed. Now, because they are in, it is behaving in a similar way. So that's my point of view. Anyways, so there's so many things I wish to cover, but then I have to come back to the main topic. Okay, so what I was saying that it is having a bull run since its inception. So there's no bad trend, and I hope this is not that trend, and it is potentially possible. I mean, this is possible if this low is taken, and then this downtrend could continue, and then in that case, this could go down up to, let's say, 13K, 15K range. Then there is if that is also broken, then it goes down to 10K, 9K, 9800 or something like. If that is also broken down, then, and by the way, when I say this one, that this correction would not be, so this up to this correction, I mean up to this is a correction for this cycle. Which one? Which started in January 2019. Okay. As I said, this COVID is just a digression, is just a temporary drop. We can ignore it. This trend started here in my book. And this drop up to now, I mean, up to 17K is with respect to this particular cycle. But when you zoom out and consider this as single cycle or wave, then this correction could go deeper, and still that is fine. You won't believe it. Some people say 10K is like it will decimate. I mean, it will devastate. No. If you know the wave structure, it doesn't do anything. In fact, it offers opportunity. So again, I have a very different view. I say up to this level, the correction ends for this wave. But if corrections continues, then correction happens on the entire wave. That means it has to go deeper, because then you put this as a single. So maybe I'll show you on a 6 month. Then you put into one way, then this has to go down deeper. It can go down up to 6K. You never know, it can be even deeper, because then that depth is with respect to this wave, remember. Now, again, people won't agree. And I'm not pressing on that, because 17K is not broken. So I won't stress too much, but at least I can talk about it. Why not? Right? Because people are afraid to talk about this. So it is not, no, probabilistically, there is low probability at this moment. So let me clarify, but I'm talking about a scenario, and we must know the scenario. And and as I mentioned, the correction is with respect to the wave that you are taking, right? On one day, we were talking about counter trend at a local level, this drop level, this drop, and then this drop is at this level, and then this drop could continue for the entire. So you see, there are, like, this is a child, then this is a parent, then this is a kind of a grandparent, so to speak, right? This is how the structure. And so when we talk about consolidation on between 17K to 25K, it's at a child level. When we talk about 17K support, it is at a parent level, at a cycle level. And when we talk about correction deeper, that means it is at the overall wave level. So now, nothing wrong in talking about that, and this is very important from education point of view. Okay, so it is not for trading, it is for education. So remember, but if it happens, you are not shocked or surprised, because you are educated. Okay, so let's go back to our weekly. So this structure is a child level, right? And these are childs, like small ones, this down wave. Okay, so this is covered, and I was talking about that red line, right? So yeah, on monthly we're looking at. So the 17K landed here, and you see this is a retest. Now, I don't have to explain how critical this is. So if you look at it, it might go down, but it has to close about this by month end. So the September begins. So let's say September goes down. Remember, as I said, breaking price is not breaking. It has to close below. This line is our track on a monthly. It has to close the month below this line for us to say it is broken. Remember, not touching or not crossing, closing. Okay. And I would not go by weekly, I would go by monthly, because this trend has to be on a monthly, cannot be on weekly either, at least on monthly, if not quarterly. Okay, so we can clearly see, but there's nothing to be worried, in my opinion. As I said, this is an ugly, ugly reset of a prior bounce. This was ugly, ugly reset, total reset. We are sitting here, but I would say, don't worry. Don't worry. It doesn't mean that. Don't worry simply mean is you don't have to assume something of a worst unless you see it. It is not happening yet. Whenever it happens, we'll be prepared, because we are educated. We are aware of different levels at a daily time frame, weekly time frame, and a monthly. We are aware and educated. And when we are educated, there is no surprise. Only thing is we have to accept the reality. We are surprised only when we don't accept the reality. Those who accept the reality, they would actually do wonder. In fact could make money as well. So if you are realist, and being present what is happening in present, and decide based on the key levels, you are not never worried. And so only those who are biased with a strong opinion worried, because they are worried because when the price goes against their expectation. So again, a very different point of view. Don't expect anything, which is, people don't like this kind of statement, but I'm happy to share here, because I don't care, you know me. So you are used to with me. But on Twitter, if I say I'll lose some followers, so for sure. And it always happens. Something, because my point of view are sometimes is contrary to the majority. People don't like it, but I cannot stop myself saying what I feel. So don't expect anything. Okay. Just see what market is offering to you. Not that what you want, but what market is offering to you. There's difference. People go with their own belief and expectation. I said, don't do that. Okay. Don't go by your belief and expectation. Go by what market is offering. This is about sailing with the wind, in the direction of the wind, right? Let the wind decide the direction, unless, because you unlike the voyage where you would have the destination, here you are not in control. The market is in control. So this is a different voyage. Okay. So you have to assess the direction of the wind and travel in that direction, not just north. If the wind is south, travel in south. In reality, it can be 4 direction. Here there are only 2 directions, right? But it's the same analogy I would give, that in a typical voyage or journey, we decide, and sometimes we cut to the wind and go against the wind, right? But in this, the difference is you are not the decision maker, you are the follower. If you understand this, I'm telling you, it will make a huge difference in your trading style. And it will, without doing anything, you will increase the probability of winning. You have to just accept the fact that you are not the driver. Your wishes, your expectation is not the driving force, but the market. And you are someone who would try to be a step ahead, not a lot, not much, a step ahead. Even if you're not a step ahead, and if you're just looking at the present, that is good enough. But here we are a step ahead. So that's it. Only thing is you have to accept what is happening. The denial is the one of the root causes of the loss. The denial. Don't deny. Okay, like sometimes somebody's you know um something happened to someone's health. Denial comes first. Don't deny. Okay, I have it now. How what can I do? How can I fight back? So that kind of a thing. So you have to accept what is happening, and then say, okay, let me be aligned with the market. Okay. And another thing is you have to align at a high time frame, because if you align on an intraday, you're gone. You will go mad, because it is like everywhere, north, south every few hours. So you will go mad. Okay. If you want to align on a weekly, maybe 3 day and higher, then you will get clarity. Otherwise, you will go mad. So again, this is time frame is also important. Okay, so I think I covered many different aspects. Maybe some of them covered earlier, but presented in a different way, and covered some new stuff probably that will help for this week. So I would say this is on edge. It doesn't mean it's going to drop. Okay, it can very well be a double bottom, and it can recover from here on. Surprisingly, yes, possible. And so it is not broken. So we will say it can recover. If it breaks, we'll accept it, and we'll say it will look further down. It will look for 15K. It will look for 13K. It could look for 9K. And even worst, we don't know yet, right? But we know that those levels, and we will be able to figure it out when it approaches, because we get more clarity when it comes to the key level, right? And that's what we'll continue doing. For now, let's say it is going to recover. Nothing wrong in saying that. Okay, on a macro level. Right now at a lower level, you see ups and down, which is fine. But if it starts going down from next week onwards, we can safely assume that it is not something we wanted, going in opposite direction. So we can be neutral. So this time you can be neutral, and I would say neutral with expectation of upside breakout. I think that's my message. Okay. Neutral stand. When I say neutral, what does it mean? Is you're open at this moment. You don't have a hard stand. That's the definition of being neutral. Means you can go in either direction as and when situation demands. So I would say if it breaks about 23K, ideally 26K, 23K, then you can say from neutral, you can be bullish. Okay. Means you can plan to ramp up. Not advice, but maybe you can say it's my plan. Okay. And also it makes sense technically because 23K will tell that okay, it's not going down but up. And of course you know this level 17K. So you right now it's 19K. People talk about 20K. Let me tell you, 20K is just a psychological level. Okay, it's not the level that you should be worried. People think that it's below 20K, so it's going down. Utterly wrong. Okay, don't listen to them. They were talking about the same near to 30 10K and whatever. They love the round number. They always talk about 100K. There is no such resistance at 100K in reality. I mean, it is around 100K, but not 100K. But anyway, nothing to criticize there. But the point is, don't assume that because it's below 20K, it is going down. No. Okay, so that's another clarification. 19K is also fine. Okay, as I said, even 17K it can retest, or a little bit below 17K it is possible. So anyway, you will get update, so you don't have to worry. On a weekly, I wanted to cover different scenario because we meet once in a week, so many things could happen in a week time. That's why I'm covering different scenarios and different levels. Otherwise you get intra-week updates anyways, but on a weekly call I have to cover different things which I'm covering. I believe I covered Bitcoin in great detail. There's nothing left out, in my opinion. But if you have any question, you feel free to ask me. And then, yeah, after the recording stops. So I'll continue with alts. And again, I think what we did last time, we are going to say which coins are stronger than relative to last week, not competition, not relative to them other, but with respect to their prior week's performance, right? So let's start with Atom. Okay, 2 weeks downtown now, totally recovering. Atom is now one of the top ones, without any doubt. AVAX holding up. BNB similar, but it's higher. AVAX is somewhere in the mid level. Remember my style. With this is low, this is high. So whether it's consolidating on a higher level or a mid level or a lower level tells you that how strong they are, right? Because as I mentioned, the double bottom happens and there is no requirement. If it happens at a higher level, the retest, then it shows that it's stronger. So BNB is here, means it's stronger compared to AVAX at this moment in this week so far. AVAX could go mad and go up like crazy bull. You don't know. So anything that I say is for the recent past and this week. Okay, remember. So the BNB, look at that. It's holding up nicely at this moment, and there's plenty of room. Nothing to worry. Then CRO is somewhere here. You are not going to see anything different, as I said, because they are going to behave in a similar way. There's nothing different. You are going to find one low and then some high and then retracement and then consolidation or maybe bounce in some case. For each and every coin, you're going to see the same. The only difference would be the strength. DOT, much better than last two. We see much better. This is EGLD is also trying to go up. ETH, as you know, it's one of the strongest. This one, nice looking. FIL, especially today, is good. So it was down badly, like 4 weeks. Amazing move, amazing move. This is amazing move on the upside. This is amazing move on the downside, right? So that means you were, if you are with a Filecoin, you have to be ready mentally with a roller coaster ride going ahead, right? And this is the nature of this asset or coin. And I explained this with different animals, right? Their degree of wildness is different, right? You compare the wildness of any animal with the volatility of any coin, if you just want to relate. So do you want to ride on a lion or tiger, or ride on something which is not so violent? You know what I'm saying? So it's a choice. So you get some big move, but then you have to be ready on a big move on the downside as well. So you decide what is your nature. And this is what I've been saying. The coin and your selection should be based on your nature. Okay, not someone's nature, your nature. If you are someone who is very scared with some move, don't go for that, because then you are kind of I mean, you go with dog, not a wolf. You know what I'm saying? So you have to understand the difference as a trader. Okay, Flux, amazing. Look at that. Consolidation on top, strong coin. FTM. This is a scenario, right? Now, I would this is happening, but now I would say this could be a possibility, right? Where we are saying double bottom. So we wanted to see if there is a V-shaped recovery. V-shaped recovery is not happening. It is going down. So it is coming down. So it could recover from here on, right? Or continue going down. So now we can shift this arrow over here, because the V-shaped recovery is not happening. So now we are talking about retest and a potential bounce and a recovery. Or continue. Gala, week one, and in this week, last 2 weeks. So nothing much for this week. HNT, I think probably the weakest one. Why? Because it made new low. Other coin didn't make new low. But as I mentioned in last week, this coin is little different. It made new high when no other coin made new high. Remember, in month of November, find out if any coin has made new high. You would not find any, or maybe a handful out of few thousand. Very hard to find. But HNT did that. And now HNT did doing the opposite. It made most of the coins did not go below June low or May June low, and this guy did. So you see the fun. Anyways, it doesn't matter. It is bad one. It may stop somewhere. A new low, fine, but then it can have. So it doesn't have double bottom. It has new low. So different scenario, and then it could recover. So we have a different flavor here. KCS, same flavor. Right, 2 week of downside move and then recovery attempt. KDA weaker than other. LNK much better this week. You see, good one. LTC even stronger than EARN. So this is interesting. LTC is showing strength, and this strength is much better than previously, or even compared to many other coins. So this is very interesting. Luna woke up, I would say. So we were ignoring Luna, you remember. Now we cannot ignore Luna. Because this move is not a huge move, but TA point of view, I'm telling that it doesn't want to go down. As simple as that. You get my message. So it doesn't want to go down further. So this is a complete, so this retest is perfect low, like you see, some of them didn't go, and HNT went new, but most of them were higher. This retested, but this is a crazy coin. Okay, it can move so much that it could become number one in terms of price action in no time. So now my attention is back on Luna. I didn't remove it for a reason. I ignored it, but now it's back in the focus. MANA, perfect retest. You see, perfect retest. So it's on edge for sure. Matic, one of the strongest, right? One of the strongest, because amazing move about this, it flies, right? So amazing coin. ONE coin, similar pattern. RNDR is weak this week, but it's also crazy coin. It can, when it moves, it makes move of 20-25%. And it can recover in no time. So, but yeah, this is volatile category. Remember, this is not a dog. It's, it's not docile. It's little, you know, aggressive. Sand coin, very weak. No green candle, but it's okay. It's in range. It's in range. So SKL, bouncing off this support. You see, complete, perfect retest. Yeah. So this is a retest. SOL, SOL similar. No strength at this moment, but it's okay. SOL I like. SOL is the SOL structure is very good. If you look at, if you're TA, you love the shape of the candle. Not many coins have this kind of beautiful candles. How to explain? I mean, you cannot express why you like rose, for example, or some other flower. It is about feeling. And so one of the aspects I would say, there's no crazy candle wicks. This is the beauty of Sol coin. There's no crazy candle wicks. Always the body is bigger than the candle wicks, and that's why it is beautiful. It's reliable. TA point of view. Reliable means it doesn't mean that it will go in as per your expectation. What I mean is it is not, it doesn't make any crazy move in compared to other, much more predictable. TA point of view. Okay. Anyway, so this completes our list, right? So I think we covered all. So my message, as I mentioned, the summary, we can expect a market recovery, but without with an open mind. Okay, without any bias, without any strong opinion. So we are going to be neutral with expectation that it is likely to go up rather than going down. But we have to see how the next week goes. If the next week starts with a downside move, because the stock market is not in a good mood. But one thing I'm observing, that the Bitcoin is more resilient than stock market in last week. Okay, in this week hasn't ended. I've seen that the Apple was dropping, the Nasdaq was dropping, but Bitcoin was not dropping as it should have been, if you assume it is directly related. But in fact, one day it went totally opposite direction, totally opposite. So it is doing something different, right? So, but as I said, so don't go and assume it's going to break down, and don't assume that it's going to go up. Try to be neutral, means open-minded, and look for the key level, which I gave you, 23. That is your first confirmation that, okay, closing above 23, not touching, closing, and then closing above 26K. Okay, that's second. That's for Bitcoin, right? And of course, so once that happens, then we can say we're sailing towards the north. So, and if it starts going down, you know that and we have lower levels. So I hope this summary gives you that clarity. Um, yeah, I'll just then look for the questions. I'll end this recording here, and for this week, that's it. Thanks, everyone.